Well, we're live, and good afternoon. We've got Danny from Spain, and we've got a very very special guest this evening, all the way from Miami, Florida. We've got we've got Agent Crockett,
AKA Don Johnson.
aka
What
now.
are you like?
Which one are you, Paul?
Well, I think to be honest with you, I think he's got a better suntan than.
Both of them.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's looking very much.
Very dapper, Paul.
I think
There's no
honestly, I think
pleasing
if you
you
put,
lot, is there?
if you
I'll
put
make an effort and you take the piss. Look,
Danny, if you put 50 years, maybe 60, on Don Johnson, I think it's a button for Paul.
I reckon he could go down as his great granddad.
yeah, cheers, boys.
Right, with that out of the way.
Yeah, that's enough levity. Enough levity. This is actually a very, very serious thing that we're.
Not that you'd think
tonight.
it.
But we've got to start with a bit of a giggle, and as always, normally it's me that's the butt of Paul's jokes, but it's my channel tonight, so
Yeah, well,
my
I can take it,
channel, my
boys.
jokes.
That's it.
We've
He's
gone
got rid
there.
of both of us now, Danny. Look, he's having a
I was
nightmare.
just saying,
Look.
He's new to this.
That's what you can. When you're in control of the channel, anyone gets a bit lippy, they're gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, can I just remind everyone that this you might be watching on my channel, but this is Richard's stream tonight. So, you know, if you're looking at a bad production levels, you know to blame.
Anyway, look, we are here to talk about something very, very
Right,
serious.
poker
and
faces now, boys.
Poker faces. That's it. No more laughing. No more hilarity. Because it is we're going to laugh all the way through this now, aren't we?
No, we've got to try not to because it ain't. You're
No, it's
right,
not.
Rich. It ain't a laughing matter, but you just
It
got,
ain't a laughing
yeah.
matter. But we start off with a bit of fun. Anyway, putting all that aside, serious head on. I'm going to play a couple of videos. First one I'm going to play is from when Tommy came out of the court earlier on today, and just a piece he did to camera. And again, I think when we think about what is actually going on in Westminster Magistrates Court, it is absolutely, as Tommy has said, they are absolutely taking liberties. And I think every one of us on this channel, to one extent or another, in various different ways, has had legislation that is designed for counter-terrorism used against us. And to me, it's sinister in the extreme. It's sinister in the extreme. Again, Danny, what are your thoughts on, obviously, on where you're at and what's happened today before we play the video?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, should he have been tugged? I mean, apparently one of the officers, I mean, we can't go into it too much, but this is only what I've seen on the public domain. One of the officers has admitted he shouldn't have been detained, or he was detained unlawfully. I know for a fact, because I've been in the position, and obviously Tommy decided to not give his PIN over at the time. He got his phones back from them within 11 or 12 hours because that one, I mean, like I say, I'm not close to Tommy, and I really do put that out there, and Richard and Paul will back that up. But he phoned me when he got his phones back, because I knew he was coming over to Spain, and he got them back within 11 or 12 hours. When they took my phones, they had them for 3 weeks. But the PIN was supplied, so they had access to my phones for 3 weeks.
Do you regret that now, Danny? Do you regret giving them your PIN number?
I've got nothing to hide, Paul, but it was an invasion of privacy. It doesn't really matter, does it, what it is? Don't matter if it's photographs of my dog. Do you know, well, I ain't got a dog, but if there was photographs of my dog on there, it's an invasion of privacy. And I want to know why I've had the problem, Richard's had a problem, you've had certain amounts of problems through the airports and stuff, and obviously Tommy, and then George Galloway. It seems a bit of a pattern here, no?
Very much so. But the pattern to me seems to be they pull whoever they like and they use that legislation now for whatever reasons they fancy. I mean, overreach is the word that comes to my mind initially, but it's, you see, the thing is that some people have not paid too much attention to this. You know, I think both you and me, Danny, have had the mick taken a little bit about it at times, but until you're in that situation, people don't realise it. People might not realise how concerning it is. And it's not just the fact of being pulled at the airport, it's what the bastards can come up with and just make up as they go along. We've all seen how this government, you know, puts away a middle-aged woman for all right, a mean tweet, 30 months in jail for a tweet. I mean,
but on the other side of that, Paul, other people have walked for saying just as bad or worse.
Well, look at Zara Sultana.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Zara Sultana this week alone has said some appalling things.
Yeah.
That if you or I said it, we would be whisked away, never to be seen again. So look, at the end of the day, I've been pulled 3 times at Gatwick. I don't know why they only pulled me, detained me, and then let me go. But having said that, you obviously spent hours there. Richard's been approached on more than
3:30 in the morning, Paul. I'm still sitting there being questioned. 3:30 in the morning.
Dalian, Richard, we can use any word we like: bullying, overreach.
Absolutely, it's
intimidation.
It's sinister. It's very sinister.
But it's not just that, Paul. Right? It's give us your phones, give us your pins. You don't have the right to remain silent because you're not under arrest. You're being detained. We've got up to 6 hours to keep you here. Give us your luggage. We're taking that away. Give us. You get searched. Your belt gets taken off. They feel all around your waistband and everything else. Yeah. Then you get questioned. Then you get fingerprinted. Then you get swabbed. Then you get photographed. I had 18 photographs, I think, taken of me. I believe if you're convicted and you get taken to a prison, it's front, left, and right. I had 18 photographs all round. I feel like I was at a photo shoot. It was that bad. And 5 or 6 hours, and then you're pinching yourself, and you're saying, "Why? Why am I being detained here? How is this possible that you're using that particular legislation against me? Yeah. It's never had a speeding ticket."
Well, this is the whole thing, and this is what's sinister about it, Danny, because everybody knows that you are not that. Everybody knows that Tommy is that. Everybody knows that I'm not that. When the police stopped me, they even said to me, "Oh, we know you're not a terrorist. We know you're not, right? Well, so why are you talking to me then? Yeah. Why are you talking to me?
Under that legislation.
Yeah.
We know you're not, but we're stopping you under that.
Exactly. Why are you talking to me? So it's sinister in the extreme. And again, I will at some point make a video about what happened to me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go into it at the minute. We're going to make a video at some point about what happened to me, because the problem is, do you know what the problem is as well? And it's not being a coward, but the problem is we don't want these people coming on top of us with heat. I don't want my door coming up the hallway. I don't want people messing about with my computers and my phones, right? Because obviously that's my business. So if they come in and start messing with all that, business is hard enough as it is. One of my mates, he got pulled. They ripped his house apart. And again, this guy is... okay, back in the day, he might have been a bit involved in whatever, 30 years ago, right? But he's a total straight guy now, total clean guy. And when all the stuff happened with Southport, he got his door smashed in, his house ripped apart by counter-terrorist police in Northern Ireland, and he had done nothing wrong. There was no charges, no further action, and it was purely because he made a comment that was unrelated to what was happening with the riots and everything else. He made a comment that was unrelated to any of that, and the police in Northern Ireland decided to target him, right? So that's the sort of stuff that's going on. Now, if we were involved in anything like that, it comes with the territory. If you're involved, if you're a terrorist, if you're doing bad stuff, you expect to get the full force of the law coming against you.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But when you're not involved in that, nobody should be molesting you, trying to talk to you, trying to quiz you about where you've been, what you're doing, and so on and so forth. This is meant to be a free country, but what's becoming more and more obvious that it isn't a free country. Let's listen to what Tommy said when he came out of the trial first thing this morning.
To determine I was going to be detained under Terrorism Act, 34 seconds, where they're meant to take time to question you about things. They didn't question me, they just saw my face and automatically made the decision they were going to detain me. That's what's come out under the officer's evidence. What also come out is his reasoning for detaining me was I bought my ticket at the dock and I was driving a friend's car. This is a total abuse of the legal system. It's an attack against me based on my political view, nothing else.
Tommy, excuse me, sir. So, Tommy, can you tell us what's just happened inside of the court?
We've heard the police's cross-examination, where it turned out that they took 34 seconds to determine I was going to be detained under Terrorism Act, 34 seconds where they're meant to take time to question you about things. They didn't question me, they just saw my face and automatically made the decision they were going to detain me. That's what's come out under the officer's evidence. What also come out is his reasoning for detaining me was I bought my ticket at the dock and I was driving a friend's car. And then questioned one of the reasons, and it was suspicious, I was driving to the south of Spain. Now, they took 40 minutes to question partner agencies. Nothing come back suspicious against me. Nothing that backed up I should be detained. When questioned, did he check my previous travel? I leave this country every other week. I don't live in the UK. I live the south of Spain. So that would have determined that nothing I was doing was suspicious. But the police officer had to have a break. He looked like he was about to faint because it came out that he absolutely did not follow his protocol, did not follow the law. This is a total abuse of the legal system. It's an attack against me based on my political view, nothing else. There was no suspicion of terrorism, no suspicion of a crime, simply the fact that I was Tommy Robinson. And I'm now in court for being Tommy Robinson, not for being a terrorist.
Where are we in regards to the trial? So you've had the cross...
I think there's another police officer now to be cross-examined, I believe. I believe there's another officer, and then I think we're there. So I'm hoping that this is done this afternoon.
So potentially it's done this afternoon. So you're going for lunch now. What time will you be back?
Starts back at 2. I've got to be back at 10 to 2. But anyone listening to that, anyone who's sat, if anyone's been, I know Ezra's travelled over from Canada doing some brilliant live tweeting, and I'm very grateful for him doing that. It's an absolute farce. The entire case is a farce. How the hell I'm here? If it wasn't for Elon Musk, I'd have another massive bill. The only terrorism that's being committed is financial terrorism, and it's waged against me. Because every one of these cases costs tens or 20 or 30 or 50 or even £100,000, yeah? And it shouldn't be happening, it shouldn't be allowed to happen. This is the second time now in 7 months, on my last case, where it was proven that the police acted unlawfully, detained me unlawfully, arrested me unlawfully, without powers to do so, and give me unlawful bail conditions. That's what happened here last time I was in this court. I hope the same happens again today. But if it does happen today, what the fuck is going to be done about it? Because it's an absolute liberty that this continues to happen. For the last 15 years, I haven't had a peaceful moment where I haven't faced these prosecutions. It's not right, yeah?
We're muted there, Rich.
Yeah, obviously, Tommy put that very, very eloquently there. But the reality is that that could be any one of us standing in the court under those charges. And I think this is important for everybody up and down the country. I believe, certainly in Northern Ireland, that the deep state are targeting patriotic people that are taking a stand on the hotel issue, on mass migration, on the Islamization of the UK. That is their big, they've got a real, they're really excited about that. That's the thing that they're really into at the minute. And I think the truth of the matter is that anybody that's involved in what we do can be in the situation that Tommy's in. And Tommy is always the canary in the mine. He's always the first one to get a touch.
Yeah.
And I hope that, and do you know what? People talk about contempt of court and all this sort of carry on, right? I'm beyond caring about that now. Because see, this sort of stuff, this has to be reported. Obviously, that's gone out in the public domain. But we have to talk about this stuff. We have to talk about this stuff. And how, knowing what he said, I'll play the other video in a minute, knowing what Tommy said, I don't understand how anybody, any judge, could convict Tommy and send him to prison in view of what we know has actually happened. Yeah. But
Richard, I truly believe that in 100 years or whatever, there will be documentaries and films made about the period that we're living in right now.
I believe so.
History is being made during our lifetime. And I can't even begin to explain to those listening how this changes your whole life in every way. When you put your head above the parapet and you publicly come out and do what Tommy does, what we do to a lesser degree, your life changes forever, and it ain't for the better. The haters come out of the woodwork, you can handle them, but when the authorities start to sit up and take notice and start to harass you, when they start closing your bank accounts, when they start pulling you over in the street, the police start pulling you over, when you start getting the death threats, etc., And it's all, you know, I've always said, look, do you know what? The left doesn't frighten me at all. The Islamists, the left, none of that don't bother me one little bit. I tell you who scares me and has always given me nightmares is the authorities. Because they're the biggest firm in the world. They're the biggest gang in the country, and you can't beat them.
Absolutely. And I tell you something else, Paul. They are the left. That's
Yep.
the frightening thing.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. If anybody thinks, and listen, individual police officers, again, I've said it, and Tommy said it. Tommy was on a stream with the guy from The Spectator, I forget his name, Jonathan someone or other. But he did an amazing interview with this Jewish guy from The Spectator, and he sung the praises of the police that policed the 13th of September. And I'm the same. You know, I think they did an amazing job. But see the deep state cops, what used to be called Special Branch in Northern Ireland, not sure what they're called I think they're called Special Branch in the Metropolitan Police as well, counter-terrorism. Now, their job should not be to harass and harangue political opponents of the government. But I believe they're being used by the government to do that. And again,
Of course they are.
Again, what are the legalities of that? What we're doing is legitimate. It's legal. We're not inciting anything. In fact, when you think about what our movement's called, Unite the Kingdom. Think about that. And any of these numpties that are going to come and knock on our doors and try and talk to us. In the last 3 months, I've had the police at the house. I've had the police phone me. I've had the police approach me twice at airports. Right? And if that's not sinister, Paul, what is? Because what they're doing is they're saying, we're watching you. That's what they're saying. We're watching you. And I think it is completely sinister. Now, I'm not rattled by it, and I'm not gonna change anything I've done. But every single one of us, and this is what does annoy me about those gobshites that would attack you, Paul, attack me, attack Danny. They haven't had the touches we've had. They haven't had the absolute horrendous things happen to us. Businesses being attacked, bank accounts closed, bank accounts frozen. There's a lot of very, very sinister stuff going on, and the state has got a lot of power. I'm not scared of them, but what people have got to understand, like you said, Paul, when I first put my head above the parapet in September 2017, and I made a speech outside Downing Street. I mean, if you're gonna start, you might as well start.
Baptism of fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I went and sat in Gatwick Airport that Saturday night, and I just knew that my life had changed forever, and I just had this feeling of dread. And I wasn't wrong, Paul. I wasn't wrong. And like you said, it's not for the better.
Rich, can I just pick up on a comment in the comments there?
Sure, yeah.
Shadow Man says he's been blocked by me. I have never blocked you, Shadow Man. I don't think I've ever seen your name before. But if you are blocked from my channel, there will be a reason. I have moderators that do all that for me. I don't know if you're banned, and if you are banned, why you're banned. But I personally haven't banned you, but if one of the moderators has, there will have been a very good reason, because their instructions are never to ban anyone unless they're being abusive towards me or towards a member of the panel. But sorry, Richard, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is I do think that YouTube does block people as well. If YouTube will block people. So, yeah. Again, thanks for that, Tony. No, I mean, I think the reality is that when you step into this arena, things change, and and like you say, Paul, not for the better, but the truth of the matter is, when you step into this, you knew, Paul, you weighed in the balances, you knew there was going to be a price to pay.
Yeah.
I knew there was going to be a price to pay, and again, that's probably why I waited until 2017 before I stepped into the arena.
Yeah, and I didn't do it until I could afford to do it, Richard. Until my family's future was secured, I couldn't afford to do it. Simple as that.
Well, I got to the stage where I couldn't not do it, Paul. And again, but finances aren't really, it is what it is. Money comes, you survive, don't you? But I think that's the thing, that people do not understand. People do not understand how dark the forces are that we're fighting, and what is at stake. And to me, if I ended up on Skid Row living in a cardboard box and we won the country back, well, I'd pay that price, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If I ended up in 6 feet under, I'd pay that price if it was to win the country back, and I mean that, But the reality is that it is a very, very dangerous game we're playing. But at the same time, if you were in France, Paul, or the Czech Republic or Poland, and the Nazis had just taken over your country, if you didn't stand up and do something about it, and you survived the war, well, you'd live the rest of your life as a coward, wouldn't you? You'd live the rest of your life as someone who didn't do what needed to be done and didn't stand up. And I think, without sort of blowing all our trumpets, I think that where we've all got this movement to since 2024, since we had that meeting in Fleet Street, is absolutely phenomenal. And obviously, all part of Tommy. He's done amazing things, even though he spent 7 months of that 7 months of that in prison. And obviously we did what we could do while he's in prison. So I think there's negatives here, but there's also positives. Let's listen to the next video, and then we'll talk a little bit about that. Because again, obviously I'm aware people will probably want to get away and get the tea and what have you. But let's just play this other video, guys. Just bear with me too.
Coming out of the court, what has happened?
Only now, but it should just be acquitted tomorrow, but we'll see.
Thank you for your hospitality. You've been amazing. You're welcome.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, coming out of the court, what has happened?
Only accredited journalists, when they say accredited, only government-supported journalists were allowed to report on the second half of the trial, which means no one, I guess, out here, because you're not going to hear it from the mainstream media, because I've looked through the mainstream media's reporting on the case this morning. It's insane. It's fucking insane. All the unlawful stuff they've done, all the illegal stuff they've done, and not one part of it has been reported on. It's mad, which is a need for people like Ezra and other people who have flown over from Canada to come and report on this. Unfortunately, he's been gagged today from when we went back in. No one else other than the government control, what is that? That's communism, no? Only government-controlled media are allowed to report on what's going on inside the courtroom. And it's meant to be about fair and open justice for people to understand. The reason why we need citizen journalists is because these fucking frauds don't report. We've seen that by the reporting this morning. We've seen that. But an officer has accepted this afternoon, which you wouldn't have heard, that he held me unlawfully because he was supposed to have done certain things that he didn't do. And then there was 3 different things that he was lawfully had to do that he didn't do in order to detain me under Terrorism Act. It's not like we're stopping you for a quick check in your car. We're nicking you for terrorism. We're using terrorism legislation to detain you and pump around the whole world that you're being charged under the Terrorism Act. You better make sure your shit's in order. And none of it's in order. The reason for detaining me wasn't in order. They just made it up as they went along. What we then found out is they made up stuff today that's not in their statements. Do you know how many times we've asked them for disclosure? And they've refused it. So we've gone back saying, what did you do for an hour and a half? Because they detained me, there was a 40-minute gap, then there's another hour and a half gap. What were you doing in that time? From stopping me originally, what was going on? We know what was going on. It was going up the ladder to the top, yeah? And they were making decisions. But they didn't make any notice, and even though we asked them, what were you doing, they refused to answer. And then today, we were taking information from other organisations. Well, we've asked you that multiple times. You have to give us disclosure, which they haven't give. They didn't give. So now there's been another application to make the judge aware. We've asked all this information, then they've brought shit up today in court where there's no evidence of it, there's no paperwork trail, there's no email trail, there's nothing. And then he started making up, do you know what his reason was? Islamophobia. Islamophobia. What even is Islamophobia? They're taking it from the Labour government's Islamophobia bill. You talk about Islam, we're going to nick you under terrorism. That's it. Anyway.
And back tomorrow.
And back tomorrow for the verdict. Let's hope the judge gives us something to have a bit more faith in judges in the UK forward. Last time I was in this court, I got a positive result from a judge. I wish I was tried by a jury, but I think after the judge listening to that absolute facade of a shit show of legal corruption and bullshit from a police force which detained someone under the Terrorism Act within 30 seconds of seeing who I was. And then they've tried to make up and wrote statements 6 months later, 9 months later. Why didn't you write this at the time? Why are you wrote all of the officers trying to get their ducks in order? That's what they were trying to do a year later. Well, why did you detain him? And then they're making up all the reasons. So let's see what happens today.
Has the trial finished today, Tommy?
Yeah, turn the camera around for a second. You're a member of the press. You was in there today. You're a member of the press. You was in there today. Can I ask you, what did you think of the fact? What did you think of the fact?
It's a contempt court case.
No, it's not. No, it's not. There's no jury. That's only for juries. There's not contempt. That's a lie. That's a lie. No. You're a member of the press.
I can't discuss.
Well, I've looked at your reporting today. I've looked at your reporting today. Yeah. Why don't you tell the truth? Why don't you tell the truth about what happened in court today? Why don't you tell the truth? Why don't you tell the truth? You see, that's the media. Where's
I'm here. So they're running away from you.
That's the mainstream media, yeah? He is sat in that court case. We'll see what verdict we get tomorrow. Not one of them has reported any of the unlawful stuff the police have done. And then, do you know what? He went to the judge. He went to the judge to make sure Ezra would stop reporting. He did. He was the grass. He went as a member of the press to point out that he's sitting in the public gallery and he's reporting on this case. To prevent him reporting so that the only narrative you get is from them. Fast car, cash in his car. Why do I have cash in the car? Because we collected a demonstration the day before and I can't bank in the UK, you mucks. Anyway, yeah.
They mentioned about vague answers.
Yeah, he asked me one question. Where are you going? Benidorm.
So you can't make that long. Now, I was in there today watching you.
Yep.
And one of the things I like to do when I'm doing journalism, I like to watch people when they think the cameras aren't on them.
Yep.
And I was seeing you at times look genuinely perplexed. You look genuinely perplexed at some of the things they were saying. Was this like almost new to you?
Well, they were bringing stuff up that we've been trying to get out of them for the last year. Information, what happened in that time. Then today we went to different organisations. No, but you haven't told us that. And we've tried to get out of you for 12 months. So you're bringing stuff up in court that you have not given us disclosure for, which is unlawful because they're meant to give us full disclosure. And we haven't had disclosure. So it's like they just suited it. And then, as you said, as you heard in his evidence, they admitted so many things. Well, how come you haven't said that in your statement then? How come you haven't said that? So for me, I'm standing here, I have to keep coming back on trial for what is a total abuse of the system, a total abuse of their own laws, and to watch counter-terrorism be made to look like schoolboys, which is what happened today. If you're going to detain people, this legislation is so overpowering and overreaching on people's freedom and rights. You have to have reason to start detaining people under terrorism legislation, not it's Tommy Robinson. Yeah? Because that's the reality of what they've done in 30 seconds. He recognised me, you're detained. I gave vague answers. As it said, my passport shows that I travel out of the country every other week, yeah, to the location which I was going. It wasn't suspicious. It's not suspicious at all. They didn't even ask me. He was driving someone else's car. I had the logbook and I had the man sitting on the phone. They didn't ask to speak to him. They didn't look at the logbook. They didn't mention the car. They didn't mention anything. Even in the questioning, no mention of terrorism, no mention of violence. So what was the purpose in it?
Finally, the magistrate is the judge, jury and executioner.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think today is just a formality and that they've already decided you're guilty, or do you think you could actually win?
I think the fact that people have been able to live stream for the first half of the court, and many of the public are going to have heard the evidence that happened today, I think that it's going to be very difficult. I think it's very difficult for him to side with the counter-terrorism, with what that absolute bullshit that's come out today in court. The fact that they've unlawfully detained me. They've admitted, that last officer admitted that I was unlawfully detained, and that he couldn't have held or made the decision because he didn't know what was going on or check what was going on. Yeah? So he couldn't have made that decision. It has to be unlawful detainment. So just on that one point, but there wasn't that one point, was there? On each officer, there was a point, and there was lies, blatant lies, which they were caught out with today. So let's see what happens, yeah?
Tommy, you're doing God's work.
Thank you.
And the Patriots are
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Can I have the microphone up?
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
We're off, yeah?
So that's Tommy Robinson's big up, 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 big up.
So there we go. I mean, Daniel Sanford, my goodness, did he look uncomfortable?
So he should do, Richard. Not only should he look uncomfortable, he should look bloody ashamed. And these people, and I mean, I'm going to try and pick my words very carefully here, but these people are simply not welcome in any way, shape or form. And they should be told verbally, not aggressively, but people should just say, listen, you're not welcome here. You lie. You're a liar. You know, go away. You're not wanted here. You're a liar. Because at the end of the day, these people aren't there to report. They're there to lie.
Totally. I mean, it is complete propaganda. And I think about the BBC, even a few years ago, there were some great journalists at the BBC, people like Mark Urban, who I think had a military background. Some of the others that did security were really, really solid characters. And now you have people like this. I mean, he just, talk about, there was somebody put in the comments about Farage being weak sauce. Well, I think Daniel Sanford looked like watered down sauce. I mean, well,
I wouldn't want to be standing next to him in the trenches. I'll tell you that.
Well, no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. And the reality is, that's a very serious point, actually, that, Paul, because the reality is,
that's what he'd be like that, wouldn't he?
That's right.
Can you get him up any quicker? What's his name? Daniel Sanford.
Sanford, yeah, Daniel Sanford. But the truth of the matter is, Paul, that these are the people that are leading our country. These are the supposed leaders. The people in the BBC are thought leaders in the country. Think about that. The people in the government, in the Labour Party, in the civil service, in the judiciary, in these fake chief constables, these are the leaders of our country. And that is shocking. And it shows, I wasn't going to talk about advance tonight, but man, do we need advance? And do we need the pledge? And do we need a spiritual awakening, and do we need a political awakening? We need a miracle. In fact, we need an absolute miracle.
I think what everyone needs to understand as well, Richard, is the psychological part this plays on everyone involved. Tommy in particular. I mean, how the guy is still holding on to his sanity is beyond me. The guy must have the mental strength of a rhinoceros. And I want to go back to Danny for a moment, because look, Danny is what I call, I've known Danny for a long time, and Danny is what I call one of the most decent straight players you'll ever wish to see.
I agree.
He's just not into the world of, he's not into any world that is nefarious or, he's just not that type of guy. And I saw how his interactions with the police or with the counter-terrorism unit, I saw the reaction and the effect that it had on Danny and his family, right down to his young son. And this is disgraceful behaviour, absolutely disgraceful. And people who are, let's not mess about here, people who are maybe not strong-willed could have ended up doing something silly in Danny's position.
Do you know what, Paul? That's a good point. You know that? That's a good point.
Danny, listen, it happens.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. It has happened. It has happened.
Yeah, it has happened.
When the deep state gets its claws into you, that's what can happen 100%. Because, again, my wife keeps on saying, for goodness sake, Richard, stop talking about Northern Ireland. But actually, Northern Ireland's very relevant in all this sort of stuff, because they use exactly the same playbook in what's happening in GB with the movement as what they did in Northern Ireland in the Troubles. They use exactly the same playbook: the demonisation, the marginalisation, the othering of people who have a different opinion, deliberately creating divide, deliberately putting people against each other. And also anybody that's not bowing to the status quo, they're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. And that's just the truth. That's just the truth of it.
I'll tell you what, Richard. I'll tell you who should be getting pulled by the anti-terror unit the next time they come back through Gatwick Airport is Zara Sultana.
Absolutely, Paul. I totally agree with.
That won't
totally agree.
Well, of course it won't happen. But you cannot say what she said in her position and get away with that.
Yeah.
It is absolutely bloody outrageous. And
Ricky Jones did. Ricky Jones did.
Yeah, don't forget her words on stage as well. We're here to take the effing lot.
Yep.
And this is a serving member of Parliament.
Do you know what I'm going to try and do,
Paul? To get away with this,
Paul, I'm going to try and play. It's not Zara Sultana, but it's someone equally insidious. I'm going to try and play this from Twitter, so bear with me because I haven't tried this before. But I'm going to try and get this into the stream.
For anyone watching, if Richard hasn't tried it before, that's not a good sign. You'll probably end up with an episode of
don't worry,
Miami Vice, which was sort of the picture over the top of Tommy just now.
You know what the problem is, guys? What we've got on the right, we've got a media megastar, a movie star, a guy that made goodness knows how many episodes of Miami Vice, And actually, I've heard he's actually doing some really good tribute act for Shawaddy Waddy down in Benidorm over the weekend. So
Yeah, a bunch of piss takers, honestly.
mate,
God, give it to me. I love
don't
it.
give it if you can't take it, Paul.
Oh,
Do you know
I
what
love
mean?
it, mate. I love it. The more the better.
Right. Hopefully this will go all horribly well. Oh my goodness.
Oh, he's got Tommy back. Look.
No, I don't want to. Hang on, guys. Hang on.
I hope it's not going to start showing us what you was watching earlier.
Just behave yourself, Paul. Just behave yourself. Right, here goes. Now calm down, everybody.
Upright, a steadfast and a noble resistance in Palestine and in Gaza to look to be inspired by. And I don't want to yap for too long, but a chant that we've been workshopping in Oxford that maybe you guys want to join in. It goes, Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground. Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground. Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground. Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground. Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground. Thank you.
I can't call him what I want to call him.
It's absolutely. I mean,
but it begins with C.
I've never heard anything like that in my life, Paul.
Cucumber.
Oh, listen, Richard. Yeah. Richard, he's just living in the wrong period, isn't he? He'd have been good in 1939 Germany, wouldn't he?
Well, I don't think he'd. The only problem is, I don't think he'd have made the SS, mate. Do you know what I mean?
No,
he had the right colour hair and the right colour eyes, but that was about the height of it. I mean, he didn't look. He had the backbone of a jellyfish.
People,
do you know what I mean? But if you think about what he was saying, that is direct incitement to murder Jews. And he's, as far as I know, I could be wrong in this, but by what he was saying, it sounds like he's at Oxford University. That's the frightening thing. He could be, in Parliament in 10 years' time. That is the frightening thing about that. And he's not an Islamist. He is someone from an extremely privileged background. You can tell.
He's at Oxford, didn't he? Oxford University.
He's at Oxford University.
He should be kicked out.
Well, he should be kicked out. He should be kicked out.
And the problem is, Richard, this is the problem with our side of things as well, right? If that was, they'd make sure he was kicked out.
If that was somebody saying something, I'm not even going to say it, but if that was somebody saying something against people that we perceive to be a threat to our national security, if I did that on a video, Paul, if I did that making a speech in London, I wouldn't get out of London. The police would have me. They'd have me handcuffed, pepper sprayed, and in the back. Look what they did with Tommy when he went to the anti-Semitism thing to support it. Handcuffed him, pepper sprayed him, and locked him up for 48 hours. Yeah, So the reality is, people, guys, and I know most everybody that watches our videos gets this, right? And we're all on the same page. But do me a favor, if you have people that don't get this, share this live stream with them tonight. Once it's over, even share it now, because the people that we need to get to are the people that are sitting on the fence, and they've been sitting on the fence that long. They've got splinters up their arse, and they're getting bed sores. Do you know what I mean? I mean, they really need to wake up.
I'll tell you what, Richard, I'm running out of patience with people that just refuse to see this. I really am.
I can't understand how
it does your head in.
The only way that you can't see it is if you're burying your head in the sand,
or if you just don't care.
I think I said I had meetings with these lefty Christians a few weeks ago, and it was a complete waste of time. I might as well just sat there for an hour and smash my head off a massive slab of granite, because they didn't get it. I tried to explain to them about the dangers of radical Islam. I tried to explain to them about about demographics. I tried to explain to them about what's been happening in the Middle East. They just did not get it.
The language is not compatible, Rich.
Paul, Danny, all I got was, but what about the babies in Gaza? They're all starving. I've seen the videos. That was
And maybe
the
that's
sibling
true.
response.
Maybe that's true.
Well, from what I've seen, they've made a brave, good recovery. Those starving people.
Well,
in Gaza.
they've been watching the BBC, Richard. That's the problem. I mean,
Exactly.
Patricia there says Oxford Uni is getting below any standard of education, just breeding haters. Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole place. I've been saying it for ages. Our education system, schools, universities, it needs ripping to pieces from top to bottom. It needs a root and branch change of who's in charge of these schools and who's allowed to teach in them.
And what they're teaching them.
And what they're teaching them, yeah, absolutely. I was listening to a lady last night who's having trouble at her school after pulling her kid out because she didn't want him having lessons on a certain religion, and now she's in trouble. So
Yes.
is that becoming part of the curriculum now, that you have to learn about this particular religion, whilst we can't have hymns?
It would seem to be the case, wouldn't it, Paul? And this is the stuff that, I mean, we've got such a battle ahead of us, and sometimes you get up. I was out on Friday night doing the demo. Somebody come up to me and said, "Do you know what? You look really tired." And if you looked at Tommy today, Tommy looked weary. You see around his eyes, he looked really, really under the cosh. And the truth of the matter is, it does wear you down. But do you know what? I've great faith that we're doing exactly the right thing, and that we can still turn this round. Just keep doing what we're doing, just like the tortoise and the hare. I'm the tortoise. You just keep plodding on, and doing what we're doing, telling people the truth, doing the little that we can do, and what else can I don't understand how people cannot do anything, Paul. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Stand up and listen. You and Danny, both of you could have given up this year, and nobody would have blamed you, because you were getting hit from you were getting punches and friendly fire, you were getting enemy fire, you were getting it from all roads. But you know what? You both stood your ground, and I'm proud of both of you, because you both kept going, and you didn't give up, and you're still here fighting for what's right.
I want
to say something else, right? Actually, I want to say something else. All those idiots that say, "Oh, well, they're in Spain." Do you know what? I'm glad they're in Spain, because at the minute they're beyond the reach of the law, right? And that means not that they've done anything wrong, but it means they have the freedom and ability to go about their business without thinking, "Oh my goodness, someone might kick my door in today." And that's back in GB and in Northern Ireland. That's what we've got, because we don't know. This thing can turn on a sixpence. 1 minute you're all right, the next minute you say something that's slightly off, and your door's up the hall, and you're doing 2 years in prison. I mean, that's just a fact of life, isn't it? So yeah, I just thought to say that, lads, because
Richard.
You've been great encouragers to me in the background when I've been going through, my darkest hours as well. So
I think for me, Richard, the most important thing is our viewers and our people, our kids, our children. I mean, I had a conversation with my wife a couple of weeks back, and I even said to her, all my exact words, I said to her, "Do you think you could do without me?"
Yeah.
Do you think that you could do without me? Because if I go home and do this at home, there's a good chance that you're going to have to go without me. And it's a horrible conversation to have.
Well, yeah, it is, Paul. I never have that conversation with my wife, because I know what the answer would be.
I was going to say, I woke up the next morning, there was a ticket on the side of the table.
Packed his bags. Oh, you was joking, was you?
Yeah, there's a ticket. By the way, I've got your lovely little flat in Tower Hamlets, Richard.
And I made you a sandwich for the flight.
But you know what, though, Richard?
There's a lovely halal butcher's on the corner, and there's a...
It's so important, because, I mean, at the end of the day, I tell you, this is slightly off topic now, Richard, but I think certainly views to my channel over the last few months have slowly but surely dropped to a level, right? I don't mind that for one bit, but I know why. And I'm guilty of it myself. I want to watch the auditors. I'm watching all the auditors. I watched DJ Media's video again from Manchester this morning. Jesus Christ, mate. I'm unbelievable. I mean, what the hell is going on up there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just beyond belief. If you didn't see these videos, you would never, ever believe what is happening in our country. So to some degree, people like myself, we've had our day. We've blown our load in some respects. You know, people come back and watch us because they like to listen to what we got to say, but we're not as entertaining as the auditors. Now, the auditors are out there doing a very, very dangerous but very important job. A very dangerous job.
Entertaining channels, Paul, aren't they?
Yeah.
Very entertaining channels. Brilliant. But I do fear for them as well. All of them. I fear for their safety because it's not going to be long before one of these people gets hurt. They need to be very careful.
I mean, look, I mean, the reality is, I agree. I mean, there's a lot can go wrong, and it can go wrong very, very quickly. And the truth is, if you're carrying a camera, I mean, yeah, if you're carrying a camera, I've had a couple of times in over here where people they go for the camera, and there's not a lot you can do. There's not a lot you can do if they go for the camera. Yeah. And you know, so I hope they've got proper security. I hope they've got lads with them. You know, just do.
Well, he was a big lad in himself.
He is. Yeah, I met him in London when we did the last march, and he's a lovely fella. And,
he's a big
lump.
Man.
You wouldn't want to. He sounds like he looks. Do you know what I mean?
But you can't have eyes in the back of your head, Richard.
Pardon?
You can't have eyes in the back of your
head. No,
you
can't. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
And the other problem is that whenever I've been out and about, the one thing I've learned, I never really look at the mouthy ones. It's not the ones that are shouting and swearing and making gestures that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's the ones that are saying nothing. They're the ones you got to be careful of.
Well, I think I've told this story before, but I'm going to say it again. I got into a bit of an altercation years ago. It was I don't know, 6 years ago or so. And the Islamists pretty much surrounded me. And anyway, after it all calmed down and you know, I escaped. This guy came up to me, showed me his warrant card, and he was an Asian lad or an Arab or Asian. He showed me his warrant card. He was a cop. He says, "Oh, I'm undercover. I had you back there, mate." I said, "Well, it didn't look like it, but thanks anyway." And I says, "What do you think of these lot?" He says, "Oh," he says, "I support the Palestinians." This was the cop. He says, "I support them. I support Hamas." That's what he said to me. And I was just like, I literally I couldn't even speak. I was just like, you know, so even the people that should have your back, you know, may not have your back. Do you know what I mean? Well, which we know,
yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of, look, there's a lot of stuff going on. I would disagree with you saying that's why our viewing figures have gone. I don't think it's that, Paul. I think you've been actually more vocal about what's going on, and you haven't been backing down. It's like anything. It's like it's building muscle, isn't it? You know, you're probably saying stuff now that you wouldn't have said 6 months ago. Do you know what I mean? Because the situation is getting so serious.
Well, I couldn't have said 6 months ago. And the thing is that you know, look, there's a point. I think if you're within this movement, if you're within what you do, there's you get to a crossroads. And I was saying to Danny the other day, you know what? I've given up worrying about it.
Yeah.
I've given up worrying about it because at the end of the day, I've had a bloody good life, right? And whatever will be, will be. I'm not going to stop fighting for my country. I'm not going to stop fighting for the people back home. And I'm certainly not going to stop fighting for my bloody grandchildren, right? And the odd person says to me, "Oh, Paul, I can't take you seriously. You don't even live in the UK anymore." Well, my grandchildren do. So that makes me relevant. That makes my voice relevant.
Yeah, well, Paul, listen, you've lived in the UK all your life, paid taxes all your life, stood for your country all your life, done more in the past two or 3 years to move this movement forward than almost anybody else I know, in terms of what you've done with building a network. I mean, you're one of the best networkers I know. I fall out with people too quick to build a good network, but the you know, the truth is, you know, you're doing so much that people don't know about, and I've always said that. So I mean, I just don't worry about what people say. I mean, there was some little scumbag digging me out on Twitter. I'm not going to mention his name. I don't want to give him any publicity, but just vile stuff. And you just look at it, you just go, you know.
Yeah.
But if you can turn that into, you know, a superpower, and every time someone has a go at you, you just smile and you go, okay, that's going to make me more determined. Thanks for that. I'll take that and I'll bank it, as, you know, because you're obviously working for the enemy, and just keep on going, because it is a battle. It is a battle between good and evil. And, the more we do this, the more I see we're in exactly the same struggle that people were against the communists in Russia, that were against the Nazis in the Second World War. We're in exactly the same battles now that's gone on for centuries. And it's always about freedom and love against oppression and hate.
Yeah.
And we're on the side of freedom and love.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's another thing that we've got to be very careful of, that we don't get filled with hatred for our enemies, and I know that's a very difficult thing to say. And as you guys know, I've got many enemies that I could be quite justified in saying, I hate those bees and I want to do this and want to do that. But you know what? I genuinely can sit here now and say, I don't have hatred in my heart towards anybody. Genuinely don't. Despite what people have done to me, I'm not going to hate people, because if you go down that road, if you hate someone, it's you that ends up paying the price for it. Do you know what I mean? Because it eats away at you. And I think that's one of the things about Tommy is a very forgiving person. I've seen that in the years I've been working with him. He doesn't bear grudges against people. Do you know what I mean? And I don't bear grudges against people. I genuinely don't, because I know what an F up I am. I can't point the finger at anyone. You know what I mean? So, but I think all these things are really important in the mindset. And if people are getting involved, if you're watching this tonight and you're thinking, should I get involved? Don't be put off by what we're saying. There's a lot of people in the comments saying they're scared. Don't be scared. Do you know what? Just really grit your teeth and go, do you know what? We're going to fight this and we're going to win it.
Well, that time has come now, boys, isn't it? I think the time now for everyone at home, everyone, right, to stand up.
Yeah.
And wherever possible, be as brave as possible and speak out. I mean, look, there are always genuine excuses as to why people can't, and I get that. I honestly do, and I know Tommy does. I know he does for a fact. 100% he gets it.
Yeah.
There's not always. It's not always possible for someone to do their bit for whatever reasons. But if you can, it's now your duty to do so.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Paul, doing your bit could be putting leaflets in envelopes and posting them to, or going online and doing stuff online. I mean, if we could magnify what we're doing by 10 by people just reposting stuff, that's a massive part of the battle. I want to address this here by Vix, right? And you've said Islam deserves hate. Now, I am going to say on that issue, and you can hate an ideology. I hate communism. I hate Islamism. Don't hate Muslims and I don't hate communists. But I hate the ideology. I hate Nazism. I hate the ideology behind those things and what those people believe. But I genuinely do not hate the people, because once you start hating the people, then you've gone off the reservation. And once you really start hating, you're capable. And listen, I'm not virtue signaling here, because I've been in situations where I have hated people, and I know the damage it does to your soul and to your being and to everything that you're about. And in fact, this next comment sums it up: hate destroys the hater. So, and I think this is a really, really important point, because it's very easy for us to look at Zara Sultana and we growl and all the rest of it. And social media is designed to get you into those thought patterns. And what I've done is I'm trying to get off Twitter. I still go on, I still post, but trying not to get dragged into those dark corners of Twitter where lads like that lad that we saw earlier, that little idiot from Oxford University, I don't hate that kid. I want that kid to actually come to his senses and realize that he's got a lot of potential that could be used for good, And if you think about when I first started doing this, right, my pastor came to me from a church I went to at the time, and he said, don't do it like Ian Paisley. And I think he was a bit wrong in what he was saying, because Ian Paisley was pretty good. But he said, don't do it like Ian Paisley. Oh, look at that. How are you? You all right?
He can't hear you. Do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello, little man.
Say hello.
You're better looking than your dad, aren't you?
Takes after his mum.
He's got a torso that's better looking than his dad.
He's better looking than Daddy. Go on, clear off.
But what this guy said,
he said no, but Mummy said she is. Go on, Rich. Sorry.
No, it's all right. No, I was saying and what he said was, be like Martin Luther King Jr. And Martin Luther King Jr.'s mantra was fight hate with love. Yeah. And I think we've got to get back to that. Now, that's not a soft cop out. That doesn't mean if somebody comes steaming into your house in the middle of the night to kill you and your family, you just go, "Oh, I love you." No, you fight like a dog until you've killed the savages that come in your house to do you any harm. And it doesn't mean you're a pacifist, but what it means is you don't let that hatred and bitterness that they've got take over you, because they are filled with hatred and bitterness. You know,
I'm going to do a boxing analogy here, Rich, because Paul likes his football analogies. When you're fighting someone in the ring, right, you have to remain calm. You might want to hate them. You might want to go out there and have this tear up. But as soon as you start that and you lose all your focus and you lose all your goal and your game plan, then it all goes wrong. You have to control. Everything has to be a controlled aggression. It has to be a controlled anger. And as you say, hate, it can just burn you up. It totally burns you up.
And as a fighter, you can also show compassion as well.
And I mean, I think, you know, depending obviously at what level you're boxing, but when I box at my very, very amateurish level in the military, you know, when you'd had the fight, you hugged it out, you know, you done what you'd done in the ring, you hugged it out, you went for a beer or whatever, and it was all done with, you know. I mean, it was like, you know, and it was, you know, and that's a sort of warrior spirit where you're fighting someone. If you defeat them, you don't want to destroy them or do them damage.
Absolutely not.
You've defeated them, and that's it. And what we need to do is defeat our enemies and then hope that they have the sense to realize that we were right all along, you know. And there's always, I think there's, you know, and this is the difference between Christianity and Islam. You know, none of us are perfect, but the bottom line is, in Christianity, there's always the chance of redemption and coming back from mistakes and from things that have gone wrong. And that's the same for the lefties and the Islamists. And I was saying this last night, if every single radical Muslim became a Christian, the problems would be solved overnight. Because you don't see Methodists strapping things to the chest and going stabbing Jews in a synagogue. You don't see Baptists doing it. You don't see Buddhists or Hindus or Sikhs doing it. It's just one crowd that are doing it. You know. And,
just going through the chat, Rich, there's some good comments today. This is an interesting one. Have you seen Based and Bougie? I've lost it. Apparently there's been a fatwa issued on Tommy's head live on X today.
Wow.
I wonder what they're doing about that.
Well, I mean, look, if that happens, you know, my goodness. Where is it, Paul?
What was the time of that one, Paul?
Is that in the chat? Is it, mate?
I can't even find the comment now. They're coming through so thick.
I know,
and
we've
fast.
got loads coming through. I'll try and find that one. You guys just keep talking. Oh, it's this one here. Guys, you've seen Basin Bush. She's talking about Fatwa and Tommy's head that was broadcast live on X. Nothing was done about it. Imagine if you were a Brit posting this. Now, again, I'm gonna take that off the screen because I don't think we should amplify that, to be honest with you, because all it takes is those, you know, a couple of little headbangers to get that into the heads, and you know, it's the last thing that we want. But I mean, but that's what we're up against. That's what we're up against, and that can't be allowed to. That sort of stuff can't be allowed to happen in the UK. If somebody's putting that sort of stuff out and they're not a British citizen, they need to be arrested and deported straight away to back from where they came, no matter where it is, and they need to be gone.
If they are a British citizen, they need to be taken to task over it.
Well, they need to be put in prison. They need to be put in prison because it's incitement to murder. It's as simple. The fatwa is incitement to murder, you know. But no, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that what's this one? I support and I'm a member of a right-wing political party. Get involved in action as often as my body allows, or I donate to help others and promote them on social media. You see, and that's what it's about. It's about everyone doing a little bit. And I think you said it as well, Paul, earlier on. You said we've also got a responsibility to our followers, and I don't have a massive following, but you know, there's people that are constantly on my channel, and you know, some of them I've met because some of them are from Northern Ireland, and you know, they come down, you know, on a regular. There's probably about half a dozen people come down to the demo on a Friday night on a regular basis. But even the ones that I haven't met, you see the names and you get to know them, and you get to know a bit about them, and we can't stop doing what we're doing because we are giving people hope.
Well, that's you know, for me, is the connection with the viewers has always been. I mean, when I'm feeling low, I need to get online. I need to get online to
because you're communicating, Paul. You're communicating with like-minded people.
Yeah.
And it brings you out of your low.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'll go through some of these super chats. Then I just want to talk very quickly about what happened in Israel today, because I think that was I don't know if you saw Trump's speech and what happened during Trump's speech, but we'll talk about that a little bit and then we'll knock it on there. But let's go through some of these supers. So, Nick, and again, I don't know whether these coming through Paul's or coming through mine. Danny, are you logged in as well, or are you?
No, mate,
you,
I'm not. I'm not streaming.
It's either me or Paul's. No. But again, everyone that's given us supers, thanks very much for that. It is massively appreciated. Nicola Jane, I don't know if you've joined my channel or Paul's, but thank you for whoever you've joined.
Thank you.
And UKIP March 25th of October, please join us. Yeah, I don't know where that is, Steve, but people need to get out on the streets. People still need to get out on the streets and go to these demos. And say one thing about Nick Tenconi, he certainly he doesn't hide what he believes. That's for sure. So definitely get out and go to a UKIP demo. You'll have loads of fun. Hi, Paul. Please, can you give this to Richard? Tony, thanks for that. Gypsy Corner, join Ben Habib in advance. UK True Party, absolutely. 100%. Gypsy Corner, thanks for that. £2. £2 from Laurie N. They'll need to take the blindfold off. Well, that's a very, very good point, isn't it? That justice is no longer blind. That's the point I think Laurie's making there.
Yeah.
That justice is very much looking at what's going on, and it's not looking in the right direction. The views the MSM gets are laughable. The scummy mirror has 3K in 5 hours. Haha. Just shows who the public truly believes. Respect to independent journalists. Again, thanks for that, Jay Marvel. And that's the truth, Paul. I mean, look, I don't think we should belittle what we do, because okay, we're not doing the audits, but they probably couldn't do what we're doing and hold these conversations. And
it takes all sorts, Richard. You know, there's room for everyone.
That's what I'm saying. We all have our little different niches. We all do our things differently. Maya Tusi does what he does. Sargon does what he does. We do what we do. And we all have our own little followings and our own little cliques that like what we do. And you know, and that's
I'll tell you now, Richard, I'm too old for that auditing like I haven't got a temperament either.
Well, with my dicky shoulder and my dodgy Achilles, you know, I'd be no good in the trenches. You know,
I'd have to have at least a couple of bodyguards with me, because I'll end up losing my rag. I couldn't. It wouldn't be good for me, I'll tell you.
Well, I'm the same. I must admit, you know,
it wouldn't be good for me. I know that.
No. That's the whole thing, you know.
And young Bob as well. By the way, young Bob's been doing a brilliant job.
Oh, young Bob,
a young lad of his age, incredible.
Well, do you know what really impressed me about young Bob? Right, we were really stuck for stewards at the last event, and I was literally press ganging people. Anyone that looked military, I was just throwing them a high vis vest and saying, "Right, you're deputized as a steward." And I got hold of young Bob. I says, "Bob," I says, "Do you want to be a deputy?" He went, "Yeah, all right then." So young Bob deputized, put a steward's vest on, and he went to the demo. And then the poor lad, he got mugged off twice. So he got grabbed by me for being a steward. And then because some of the speakers, let's say, went on a little bit too long, he didn't get speaking at the event along with a few other people, and he was disappointed. But he hasn't spat the dummy out. He's still, he's still doing it. So yeah, young Bob's a good kid. I really like him, and I think, do you know what? I think he needs to be protected. People need he needs protection.
I think he's vulnerable.
He needs a bodyguard. Listen. All I'm going to say is he's not exactly, he's not exactly Rocky, is he? You know what I mean? I wouldn't fancy his chances against Mohammed Hijab. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, the point is, and that's not in any way to disrespect young Bob, but the people that are close to Bob, you need to get people around him. Maybe there's people that I haven't seen.
And if you're about and he's there, just keep your eyes on him.
Keep an eye on him. Yeah, keep an eye on him, because there's some big lumps in our movement. You saw them all around Tommy. I don't know if you see them in that video. There's some boys I ain't seen there before. There were some growlers there today. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But that's what he needs. Tommy needs that.
Of course
Tommy can handle pretty much anyone that sticks it on him. You know, that guy, I think, was about 6'5" that he knocked out. It was like David and Goliath, wasn't it? But
Tommy also needs people with him. At worst, he needs to now wear body cam all the time. When he's in public, he needs to really stop using public transport, to be fair, with his profile.
I agree 100%. I agree.
Richard,
100%.
can we touch on Gaza and what's happening?
Yeah, I'll read this last super chat out, Paul, and then we'll go into Gaza 100%. Sarah, Labour are following exactly the same playbook as the Democrats under Joe Biden. That gives me hope. And Jesus Christ has run the world, so we've won already. And I totally agree with that, Sarah, 100%, 100%. And again, thanks for the super. Yeah, Paul, let's get on to Gaza and what happened in Gaza. I mean, obviously, how much did you see of it? Guys, were you following it this morning when the hostages got released? And
a bit, I saw a bit.
I've not seen it, mate. Sorry, I've not seen it.
Yeah. I mean, what I got from it, obviously, the hostages are free, which is great. But again, what is the price that Israel's now going to have to pay when they've released, what is it, 2,000 terrorists back into Gaza, back into the arms of Hamas? And I think, from my point of view, what worries me is, one, I get very worried when anybody pays compliments to Jonathan Powell, because we all know what a wrong and Jonathan Powell is and what he's about, right? So that worried me when I heard that our national security advisor had been involved in some way, shape, or form. But I think that was really just a political move to get him out of trouble. I think that was a favour that the British government pulled off the Americans, because obviously Powell's been in trouble for doing goodness knows what with the Chinese. But when it came to the actual event itself, I don't know if you saw Trump's speech. Did you see it, Paul?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. Go on, Karen.
Go on then. Go on. No, I want you to go for it.
What I was going to say, I mean, some time ago, Trump said that Gaza could be like the Lebanon of the 1970s or 60s or whenever it was, and I think the only hope that we have here is that the radicals in the region will never deal with the Israelis. They will never ever come to terms with the Israelis, but they might be able to swallow their pride and come to terms with dealing with Donald Trump. And he could really pull the biggest rabbit out of the smallest of hats. And if he does, I mean, he will go down in history, because boy, oh boy, to be able to bring a long-lasting peace in the Middle East will be incredible. As things stand right now, I trust them as much as I trust, as far as I could throw a log. I don't trust them one bit.
Yeah.
Not one bit.
During Trump's speech, Paul, I don't know if you saw it. There was a guy actually ran at Trump from the Knesset.
Yeah.
And he was wrestled out by the Mossad, or I don't know,
whoever it was,
Secret Service, whether it was American Secret Service, and Trump just stood there cool. He's like, just said, "Well, that was very efficient." That's all he said. I mean, Trump is an absolute legend. I mean, you look at Trump and you just go, and he just bosses everybody.
Yeah, he's a warrior, isn't he?
Netanyahu was sitting there like a little boy. Do you know what I mean? And Trump's really giving him a bit of grief, just bantering him. He's having banter with the Prime Minister of Israel. Do you know what I mean? They've just had this big peace process. The hostages just come back. Should be a solemn thing. And Trump's.
I think it's important to remember, Richie.
Guys, can I just interrupt? I've got to shoot. I've got to take Carter to Kung Fu. Would you believe? So, and he won't go with So I'm going to shoot off the channel. Thank you very much, Rich, for having me on, and Paul. And I'll keep catch up with you all soon. Thanks very much, guys.
So let the mild mannered janitor go.
Ta-da, mate. See you soon.
I think it's really important, Richard, that whilst we're talking about the hostages that have been released today, is that we remember those that didn't make it.
Yeah.
And that is just
totally
unforgivable.
Totally, and I always go back to the Bebas children. Because they looked so much like my grandkids or my grandson. And you look at that and you just go, my goodness. It was. I think when we look back at this and you think about what happened, in its own way, of course, the scale was different, but it was very similar to the Holocaust. In some ways, it was worse. not obviously on the scale, but in terms of the barbarity, that what they did to kids and live streamed it and phoned their families back in Gaza boasting about, how many Jews they'd killed, Douglas Murray wrote about it in his book on democracy and death cults. And it's absolutely horrific. But I think that there is hope. But I'll be honest with you, Paul, I don't think there'll be any hope until Hamas is completely destroyed.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you do that now. That's the problem when you go into a ceasefire situation. And I know that people think, well, you've been talking about not hating. I don't hate Hamas, but I think they should be destroyed because they're purely evil. And they're not in it for negotiation. They're in it, as Zara Sultana said, they're in it to win. They're in it to completely take over. And, when you think about what happened on October the 7th, if Hezbollah had, there's a Dark Side of the Moon. Hello, lads. Did you see that idiot from Oxford Uni singing, put this on? Yep. Do you know what? We played that one, Dark Side of the Moon, about half an hour ago. And, my goodness. 40,000 on our streets, allegedly. That's, that in itself.
And the rest, Richard, and the rest.
Well, I think there's way more than that as well, Paul.
And the rest.
I mean, there's been 40,000 since 2000 and, since 2017, it's been going
and the
on.
rest.
Well, Paul, I think we've said everything that we can say really about what happened today. Again, we could have gone a bit more into what's happening.
Good luck, Tommy, tomorrow. Good luck, brother.
Tomorrow. I mean, listen, if he doesn't walk away from this, right, then there is literally no justice in our country. But we know that anyway. So let's hope that justice is served properly and that Tommy walks out that court a free man tomorrow. Yeah. But again, Paul, can you imagine the stress that he's under? Now he's just come out of 7 months in solitary confinement. Yeah. Right. He's straight into a demo, straight into like numerous interviews, right? And then he's back in court again.
I don't know.
And in between that, he had the potentially like an attempted murder, Section 18 GBH charge that could have gotten 15 years in prison.
Yeah.
That was just in between it. That was just in between time. Yeah, so he's got this court case. Then I think he's got I'm not sure what's happened with the ones about the posts that were on social media.
That's
still ongoing. And then he's got the other ones from that scummy Daily Mail reporter that's trying to drag him through the courts over posts. So it's absolutely unbelievable.
He deserves the support. I'll tell you what he deserves. I'll tell you what he deserves. He deserves a fair crack of the whip more than anything. I'm sick of and I'm going to use the expression, I'm sick of these bastards on mainstream TV.
Yeah.
Slagging him off, having plenty to say about him, but not a single one of them has got the arsehole to face him on TV and talk to him face to face. They're the biggest bunch of goddamn cowards this country has ever bred.
You saw it with Daniel Sanford today.
It's unbelievable.
His backside totally went. He'd got his tax in.
Doing. And these people, they are vile individuals.
And they're cowards. Not just vile, but
they're cowards. Absolutely. They are cowards. A quick comment on there. AMH says, Paul, you look in a low mood. Do you know what it is? I've got a serious face, right? I just have a serious face. And when I'm reading the comments as well. And I'm like half squinting to see them. And that makes me look a bit serious. But I'm fine. Thank you for that.
It's this poker face,
It's been poker face.
Never play cards with Paul. That's especially not strip poker.
Yeah, definitely don't play strip poker. Do you know I learned to play free card brag? I learned to play free card brag at school.
See, that was when we had a good education system, Paul. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Spent more time playing cards than doing math.
You probably learnt more playing cards than you did doing maths anyway, mate.
Yeah, I probably did.
You can learn a lot more in a card game than you can in a maths class.
Oh dear, and darts.
Exactly.
I could never count a 301 or add up or take away until I started playing darts. Oh dear, but seriously,
I keep talking. Richard has a man because of his dogs in the picture behind me, or is it just me?
That's not straight, by the way, Richard. The gap at the bottom is wider than the gap at the top.
I'll just leave it, right? Just leave it.
That's my OCD.
Last time I took it down, the flipping pins fell out, and it took me 3 days to get it back up. You know.
Oh dear. Do you like me out? Do you like me out?
It's mega. It's mega,
it?
mate.
Yeah,
it's mega.
Yeah. Mega. Go on,
guys. Listen, we've had a, it's been a serious subject, but I hope we've had a bit of fun as well along the way, because we always try and do that. We try to keep it light as well, and we try to encourage people. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep following these channels. Keep sharing
Rich,
stuff.
One thing, sorry, before we go. There's 2 or 3 people in the chat tonight saying that they are blocked from my channel. And again, I'm just going to repeat what I've said time and time again. I very rarely, if ever, ban anyone from my channel, if ever.
Yeah.
I have 3 or 4 mods that do ban the odd person, but they are all under the same instruction. Do not ban unless the comments are beyond the pale.
Yeah.
Now, it's very likely that if you are somehow banned from my channel, it's not us that's banned you. It could well be YouTube. They do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I just don't know. But all I can say is, it's not down to me. So I don't know why. And I don't think it's down to my mods either. They're very sensible.
No. Listen, we're going to close it down there because somebody just took the piss, to be honest with you, and they've put something in the chats there that I've just noticed. So I'm going to close this stream down. I'll tell you about it when we get off, Paul.
Okay.
It's something that's totally unacceptable. And if you ever come on the channel, I can't ban you because you've come through a third party apparently. So I don't know if that's on yours or on mine.
My channel, probably, yeah.
Yeah. But if I see you again, you'll get banned on my channel. You know what you've done. Total wrong. But anyway, guys, listen, everybody else in the chat, great. Thanks for everybody coming on board. Yeah, and let's just keep doing this and just ignore the haters.
See you all soon, guys. Take care. Have a good week.